Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today I am going to be knocking out some work in the garage. Oh, I wanted to show y'all something here real quick before we get started. I did something I'm not super proud of, but I cleaned my workbench off, mostly. Hate to see it that clean. It's a sign of a deranged mind, I think, but I need a little bit of room here because we are going to be, I got the light in the background, I apologize. We're going to be working on the front forks of this KTM today. Front forks are leaking, so we're going to remove them, take them apart, clean them up, install some new fork seals, and reinstall this whole mess. And then I also have to go through the front brake on this at the same time. So let's get started on this, shall we? When I'm working on motorcycle forks, the first thing I like to do before I take them out of the motorcycle, out of the clamps, is to get the top cap loose. Now, it's best to use a 6-point socket if you have one, and you can't access this without removing these handlebars. So we're gonna remove these. Oops. And drop some bolts, not a problem. Not a problem today. There you go. This is a nice little KTM. It's a early 2000s. I think it's a 2000 or 2001 KTM 200 EXC. Really nice size. 2-stroke, lightweight. There we go. Now we get access to the top of these. So let me grab a 6-point socket, and we'll loosen up these as well. And I'll grab a 6-point socket, and we'll try to loosen these while we're still clamped in down here. So the nice thing about this is the motorcycle clamp is providing a hold on this. Otherwise, if you take these out and you don't have a specific fork clamp, you're not going to be able to hold them to get that loose. So it's much easier to break it loose while it's on the bike. 6-point socket. The 12-point sockets will work, but I mean, when you're taking these off, this is usually soft aluminum. So you want to try to get the most purchase you can on this. This one's not even too tight. The 12 points might slip, and then you're in for a world of hurt. This one wasn't too tight either. So all you gotta do is just loosen them a little bit before you take the whole thing out. But if you strip these out, you're in for some fun getting this thing off. And then these are not cheap either to replace. So what we're gonna do now, let me slide this back up here so it's not. Okay. What we're gonna do now is take the front wheel off, disconnect the brake line, take these fork covers off, and then loosen up these, and I'm gonna slide them out one at a time. So I'm gonna get all these ancillary pieces off of here, and then we'll get with the forks out and I'll show you what they look like. You can see the evidence of leakage all down here, and this is my buddy's motorcycle. He was saying the front brake wasn't working too well either, and I'm hoping that the problem is this oil all got on the pads, because that will be very easy to fix. So I loosened up these lower clamps. These upper ones are loose. Really what you end up having to do is just kind of twist this thing, and it's not being very cooperative. Sometimes if they won't come out, what you have to do is kind of wedge this open a little bit with like a screwdriver. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. And another problem with this is that it destroys this sticker a lot of times, but it looks like this one is expired anyway. So he should have a new one. Well, I'll try to get it off of here, but chances of it coming off in one piece is pretty slim, even though it looks like it's over an old one, so it might come off. We'll try. Let me get these out of here, and we'll put them up on the bench. Okay, as you can see, I've got the fork removed. It's in the vise here. Not clamped down too tight, because you can indent these walls on these. So you don't want to get too crazy with it. And we've already loosened this. Now this has a little bit of spring tension under it, so as you loosen it, you gotta just hold down a little bit. It's not gonna explode in your face. Well, but I still wouldn't put my face over the top of it. You should be fine. There you go. So we've got it loose. What I like to do is I just lift this up down here with my foot. It lifts the whole thing up here, see? There we go. Now I'll grab a hold of it and I am going to hold it over my drain pan. This is not easy to do by myself here, but I'm going to hold it over the drain pan once I take the plug out of it there and drain this fork out. Like so. And I can even put it up in the clamp as soon as it gets most of it drained out and let it drip out of here, but the majority of it will come out with this. And it's been leaking, so there's a bunch missing already. Our next step is going to be to remove this top cap from this rod here. Once that's off, then we can pull this spring out, and then we can start separating the bottom and get to the fork seal. So they sell specialty tools that make this easier, but what you kind of got to do is you got to fight this spring down, and then there's a flat area on this rod, and find out what size wrench fits on that flat, and this one is a 21 millimeter. And then you hold this, which is holding the rod, and then you can, all right, if things go well, you get a small cut on your hands these days. And remove that. Removing that. And now we'll remove that washer. There's also a nylon. Looks like there might be two of them here. So we're going to put the washer on top of here because that's the way this all goes. And then you got to hold this down and pull this out. Now this comes out. Okay, we're making progress, ladies and gentlemen. Progress. Next thing we got to do is get this dust seal up. This is not the fork seal. So if you're working on motorcycle forks and they're leaking, the outer part here is a dust seal. Now you can squeeze in there with a screwdriver, go around it slowly, pry this up. 9 times out of 10 these can be reused. So sometimes when you buy fork seals, they'll come with the dust seal, sometimes they won't. I bought this kit here from my awesomely named place called All Balls Racing, and it did not come with the dust seals, just came with the fork seals. So these are going to get cleaned up and reused. Now the next thing that you do is, hopefully we can see in here. Well, tell you what, I'm gonna get some light on this. Let's go grab this. Let's go grab this fancy magnet light here. Some guy give me this. Let's see if we can see in here. So inside of here is a clip, a little metal clip. Now they're different on every set of forks. You can just barely see it. It's hard to get the camera and the light in here. But we got to get that seal, or that clip out so that we can pull that seal. Some of them have a place for a snap ring, pliers. Sometimes you can just use a screwdriver to pry it out. This one looks like I can use a screwdriver. And I don't think you're going to be able to see in there, so I will get it out and I'll show you what it looks like. Let me see if you can see it while I'm working on it. And sometimes they kind of kick your ass, or at least mine. Probably not yours. Y'all are professionals. I'm just a garage hack. There you go. You see that? Now at this point, I should be able to just give this a little tug like this. Use it as kind of like a slide hammer, and I should be able to pop this thing off. Let's see if I can slide this up so you can see it. So I'm just going to be using the lower fork leg as a slide hammer too. There you go. Now there's your fork seal right there. This is the fork seal. Here's the lower fork leg. So I'm going to lay all this stuff out. We can take a look at it. As one of my YouTube friends likes to do, I'm going to do a flyover shot. There you go. There it is. All taken apart. Let me move this in here. Okay, so this is our upper fork housing, the lower fork leg, dust seal. Here's a retaining clip. There's our fork seal. Here's a washer, a bushing. There's another bushing on here, our spring, and this is for our rebound damping. So the next thing we got to do is to get this fork seal replaced. So we're going to take this off. So in order to take that off, I'm not worried about this one actually so much because this is the leaking one. So we're going to take this bushing off, take this bushing off. Remember the order all these things go. Let me see if we can figure out an easy way to get this lower bushing off. This is well, they're all really two-piece, or not two-piece, I'm sorry, split. So we're just going to open that up a little bit, slide it on over here. There we go. Now this bushing, see the split in that one? Now all these bushings can be inspected and replaced. See, this one has some wear on the outside of it, but that's not really cause for concern because that's sitting inside of here. You want to inspect the inside of this one and the outside of this one. Just put everything in order here, order it came off, so that we can check it out. There we go. Put it in order so you can see it. All right, fork seal, retaining ring, and look at that, there's still fluid in here even though we've been draining it. And our dust seal. So there's all the components that came off of this fork leg here. Just as a visual, there's how you wrap the end of this thing up. Just wrap some duct or masking tape around it, and then when the seal goes on, it won't catch that sharp edge here or either of these other two sharp edges. Okay, I'm going to try to show you what's going on here and explain what's happening. So, oh man, I even cleaned this thing up and it's getting dirt on it. It's just probably from my hands. So this is the brand new fork seal right here. So what they do is they sell a tool that fits over here and you can push this thing in. Now a lot of times you can get it kind of in there even with your thumbs, and I'm almost all the way in as is. So the fork seal driver is a two-piece thing that fits over here. It's like a clamshell, and then you can drive it in. So what I like to do, since I don't have a fork seal driver, and I don't know why I don't, because I should, is I just put the old fork seal on above the new one, and I use that to help drive it in. And almost every time you can get it in there all the way just with your thumbs, but if you can't, you can just use this to push it in. And then once you have it all the way seated, then what you do is you slide this up, bring this down here, and then you can just cut this off with the side cutters. So it's just another option. You can make a homemade fork seal driver, and I have one of those around here as well. I just thought I'd show you this, just because if you're ever doing this, it's just another option. So now I just got to cut this off and then put this lock ring back down in here. Simple as that. I got the two halves together, snap ring is in, and the dust seal is down. Now it's at this point where it's going to be a crossroads, I guess you could say. Some fork manufacturers want you to fill them with oil at this point. So what you do is you could fill it at this point, and then it will give you it could be a volume measurement or it could be a level measurement. So some of them, what they'll say is to fill it without the spring in it and having it completely collapsed, and then the oil level should be at, or fully extended, fully collapsed, however it says it, and then the oil level should be at a certain distance down, like say 98 millimeters down. Or it may say add 725 milliliters of fork oil. And that is another thing. There are many different fork oils out there. So I have a 15 weight fork oil. This is called 125 150. It says it's a 7 weight. This is a medium 10 weight synthetic. This is a high performance 10 weight. So what you need to do is you need to do a little bit of research. Of course, RTFM, read the freaking manual, see what is recommended by the manufacturer. Then you might want to do a little bit of online research, and if your motorcycle is known to have fast or slow action in the forks, or if you are a bigger or smaller person, or if you prefer stiffer or softer forks, you can change the fork viscosity, fork oil viscosity. You can change the level. So there's lots of things you can do out there. I am going to go with the manufacturer specification on here, which it said is 830 milliliters of 10 weight oil. So that's what I'm going to be adding. I might have said the wrong level on the last video. I don't remember what I said. I guess I'd go back and watch it, but it's 430 to 465. The ideal way to do these is to measure it. So they sell a tool for that as well, and you can make your own. Really just a syringe with a hose that goes in here, and you measure the height on the syringe. You can put tape around it or a zip tie, set it right on here, put your fluid in there, and then pull the syringe until you don't pull any more fluid out. Now the next part is getting this cap back on here. Now you saw how I did it before. I pushed down on this spring and I got the wrench on there. It's not nearly as easy when the cap is already off, because you have nothing to hold on the top when you're trying to push this spring down. So what I have used in the past is a wrench like this. This is actually a wrench for adjusting the blade on my table saw. And I just feed it in down here, and then I turn the coil spring. Let me see if I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. Here, I'm going to turn this thing this way so I can see what is going on. All right. Sorry about the light behind us. Here, let's just try to move it this direction. Still not the best. But anyway, this is a very thin wrench. And then what you do is you just turn the spring this way. See, that's feeding it back that way. This is feed it down. And then I can kind of hold it enough to get this threaded on. And then once this is threaded on, now I can hold this down while like that, to get the wrench back on there. So just another little garage hack trick. Now that I got the cap started, I was able to push this down, get the wrench on it. We can tighten this cap back to this rod here. There we go. Now we can pull this out. Try not to get the meat of your hand caught in there. That could have been painful. Now you want to get this thing going, and definitely be careful that you don't cross thread it, because that could be bad. That could be bad. All right, let's try her slowly here. All right, it's feeling just fine. And we'll go till it's bottomed out. And then once we put it back into the clamp on the motorcycle, we'll get it in where it belongs, tighten it up in there, and then we can put a final snug on this. So I have one more to do, exact same procedure as this one. So I'm gonna put this one back on the bike, pull the other one off, get busy on it. But you seen one, you seen them all. That's how they say it, right? So I won't subject you to any more of my garage torture, but that's the basics of working on upside down forks. You have the regular forks too. Let me show you the difference here real quick if you're not familiar. These are upside down forks, they're called. You got the fork shaft here, and there's the body of it. And then these are regular forks with the fork body, and then the shaft is on the top. All right, let's get out of the sun. There we go. All right, so I still got to get the other one done, put this thing back together and fix the brakes, and then this KTM should be out of here. And then I can relax on my weekend. But thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.